and welcome to the Day Podcast. I'm Alex Arini.
And I'm Presley Davis.
And no, we are not Canadian.
Alright, well, welcome to the Friday/Saturday edition of the Day Podcast, where we talk about this week in hockey and DC shows.
We should really just start calling it the Saturday Podcast, but
This-
that's one's going to get us.
The Saturday Podcast, because everything we use seems to love taking days to upload.
We tried to make this past one on Wednesday, but it ended up being uploaded on Thursday. So I think we should just push all of the day, or we should just say the middle of the week, the end of the week podcast.
The middle and the end of the week podcast, I like it. So to start out today, we have hockey, this week in hockey for the Minnesota Wild and the LA Kings. And I guess I'll start. This week has been very interesting for the Wild. Starting it off, we had you announce that Harding, in my opinion, one of our best goalies, he was taken off of the injured reserve and the team suspension and cleared for the waivers. We now know that he has been moved down to Iowa and that he was not actually picked up by the 4 NHL teams that were looking to pick him up. I don't know if you heard about any of that.
Nope.
No. Yeah.
I don't news is weird for me being a college student. I just don't hear a whole lot about really anything.
That's very true. I follow the Wild specifically, so I get all of their news. I follow multiple accounts for them, but with Harding, he has multiple sclerosis, and so when he changes his medications every 6 months or so, it can really screw up a lot of things, just bodily and health. And so he did not play since, I think, last December. So almost
Wow.
a year. I think it was December. He didn't play in the playoffs, I know for sure. And
That's
so
not December though.
exactly, that's far from December.
Yeah, okay.
Anyways, so he hasn't he didn't play in camp this year. He didn't really do anything. So
He's just
far.
kind of been there.
He hasn't, because he was on team suspension for breaking his foot or ankle on something that was not hockey related. We don't really know much about that story. It was kind of awkward because they had to put him on injured reserve because he had MS. So lots of mystery there. Where does he go after being sent down to Iowa? I mean, his career already had a time limit. And it kept getting just faster and faster. So it is really a sad story, especially since he was such a good goalie. We are now trying to put in, like I said last week, Backstrom, who is really just, a lot of people are saying, a little too old to be playing, and then Kemper, who is a little too young and with a little less experience that we need him to have to really be just that star goalie, quick, on the Kings. But yeah, in other news, Parise came back.
Hooray, the only name I know on the Wild.
Man, he came back and was just ripping it apart. Made a huge comeback. Heard Hollow was back on the ice. We have a game tonight. I haven't actually. I should have looked into it, but I have not heard whether or not he will be back for that one. And yeah, we are starting to look healthier. How are the Kings doing?
They're 10-5 and 4. So yeah, that's all I know.
Yeah, I know that we are on a current 3-game winning streak. They're all at home, but
We're on I want to say 4-game winning streak, I think.
nice. We both came off a 4-game losing streak, so that's both great news.
Oh no, never mind. We lost to Anaheim and Dallas. That's right. So we're on a 2-game winning streak.
Yeah, those Ducks.
They play again tonight at 7:30 Pacific time.
Who are they playing tonight?
The Hurricanes.
I know that we're playing the Flyers.
Philadelphia.
Yep.
So anyway,
Any other
I
news?
really didn't have much to bring to that topic.
All right.
I promise I'll have more to bring to the rest of the topics.
Oh yes. As you know, we are mostly a DC news and everything you would want to know about DC Comics
If you didn't
podcast.
know that, what have you been doing?
Yeah,
Or if
where
this
have you?
is your first episode, hi.
Yeah,
What are you doing?
this is your first episode. We can't really blame you, because we don't.
I could just imagine someone tuning in and being like, "Oh, I can't wait to listen to this nerdy stuff. What are they talking about hockey for?"
We again actually explaining our initial uh, just hockey spiel and update. We decided to bring hockey to the beginning so that all you hockey fans are just fans of comics that also want to hear hockey and don't want to listen to the entire podcast because it can tend to be long. Although we do recommend you listen to the entirety of it. Um,
Please.
we have that at the beginning so that you don't have to wait like you had to last week.
Also, we're gonna have a time link for all the non-hockey fans, so you can skip it.
We will. Um, so there you have that, and we'll move on to DC now.
The Dctv shows,
Yes.
excluding Constantine.
Yes, after very, very careful consideration. No,
And by very careful, he means we talked about it for like a minute
um,
right before this podcast.
Constantine seems to be on a downhill, just snowball of ratings and viewership. They are just plummeting. This show is almost just guaranteed for cancellation. We didn't feel that it was right to continue on with it if it's going to be canceled. We personally haven't been keeping up with it. All around, it was the show. We had two shows being introduced for DC, three shows being introduced for DC just this season, and then Arrow. So, and one of them had to fail, and sadly, that was Constantine.
Well, we knew Arrow wasn't gonna fail because if it did, that'd be really sad, and that would
It would.
everyone really that would be horrible.
But out of four that we've had launch in the past few years, that that's the only one to fail so far.
Or well, fail in terms of ratings and such, and fail as in terms of we think that it'll probably be canceled first.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is all speculation. It's still currently airing, and I mean, if you love it, then that's great. I mean, again,
Just don't.
we didn't hate everything about it. It just didn't bring enough for us to love it.
I feel like I would enjoy it more if I like actually was super into the whole Justice League Dark and then Hellblazer comics and stuff. I
For
feel like I'd be way more into it.
for fans of those comics, I'm sure this is a great TV show.
Well, I mean, it might not be. I haven't.
Very true.
I'm not sure. I don't know anybody who likes those in particular. I don't know anyone personally. I mean, yeah.
They definitely aren't some of the most popular, as we can see fairly often with DC trying to tie them into big AAA titles.
Yeah. Because the thing is, Matt Ryan's been doing great as Constantine, and he's been trying to carry the entire show, but he can't. Well, I get like there's just too much to. And he's trying his best, and I'll give him that. He's doing great as Constantine, but it just seems like it's futile.
They do. They fluctuated a lot with their supporting cast. You don't really have anyone but Constantine that you can really know a lot about or actually care about as a human or even a character. Um, and
Yeah, I don't.
you can't
that's
have
the
one
major
person.
thing.
You can't just have one person. Yeah.
That's the major thing with this show is like I'm not a huge fan of any of the characters. Like none of them have roped me in and been like, oh yeah, okay, I'll stay for this character. Just in particular, whether it be the main character or a supporting cast member or whatever. Yeah.
Very true. So that being said, unless one of us has something to say about a current episode or we cut back up, Constantine will not be on the weekly update that we have at the end of the week podcast.
Probably.
Most likely, at least for the time being. So
yeah, for now, we're not gonna have it on every week. We may bring it up every so often. We may joke about it existing.
It can make a comeback. Who knows?
I mean, it can. If I start hearing great things about it, then I'll be the first person to tune in.
Exactly. But for now, we are going to move into Gotham.
Hooray! This episode was
interesting.
Sorry. I was trying to say the title.
Oh.
Sorry. But this episode was named Harvey Dent. For those of you who do not know, Harvey Dent, a character from the Batman comics, later becomes the villain Two-Face.
Yes, and before he becomes that villain, he is the DA and a lawyer, of course, as the DA. He talking about.
He was a doctor as the DA.
You know, you could be anything as DA. It doesn't matter at all.
You can be a supervillain as DA.
As Gotham proves. But plugging into the character of Harvey Dent in this show, I like that they brought back the bipolar Harvey Dent.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see that in the Nolan trilogy, but we saw that in the Batman animated series, the comics, and I personally loved it. Just seeing this great lawyer, this really nice guy, and of course, for all these shows, spoilers. I think we're only going to say it once this week, at least purposefully.
We need to get a counter of how many times we said it last week, because we said it a lot.
We did, but
also, I feel like we should point this out. That this week we will try not to have it loop over again.
Oh yes, just quick tangent about this. Last week the video did loop. We have changed the programs that are being used and are going to put much more scrutinizing eye on this video before it gets uploaded.
Because I feel like everybody was like, well, a lot of people looked at it and were like, 4 hours and 45 minutes? Are they insane?
So, for those of you who looked at it and then moved on, it is not 4 hours, it is only 2 hours and 20 minutes. So, we're not trying to trick you. Yes, but for Harvey, we have, just this really nice lawyer who he's, in this episode at least, trying to do everything he can to catch the killer of the Waynes, and then we see him brought up against the CEO, and he loses it a bit and turns to his more aggressive side.
Yeah, I also thought the actor that played him was a really good choice for him. As we mentioned in the previous episode, Aaron Eckhart did a great job bringing that character to life, live action in The Dark Knight. I thought this guy could give Aaron Eckhart a run for his money with the live action interpretations of Two-Face.
I'll have to push back a little here.
Really?
When he was first introduced, just got this weird vibe. It was just... maybe it was what they kind of were telling him to do as the character, to be really, nice, but a bit of a front for something else, and he took it a little too far. He just seemed a little fake. A little bit of bad acting. That's just my opinion, what it came off as immediately. I gained respect for the character as we see him become a little bit more bipolar, and he's, having to think on his feet. And then I also realized we aren't looking at grown Harvey Dent. We're looking at, Harvey Dent back when he was just a, young hotshot lawyer.
Yeah, that's a good point right there.
And I was kind of expecting grizzled Harvey Dent, very close to being Two-Face Harvey Dent.
Well, if he was grizzled Harvey Dent and he was close to being Two-Face, then he'd be, I imagine, older and also really, really old when he finally becomes Two-Face.
Exactly.
And it's a Batman villain.
Yes, I even thought when I was first reading, just gossip columns basically, and I hadn't heard that they had casted him yet, that he was going to be a childhood friend of Bruce's in his school.
Personally, I think that would have been better.
Honestly, yeah, I now realize after seeing the promo for next week's episode that they needed him to be who he is in this episode. But I would have liked that. I would have liked to see, instead of maybe they could still do Hush, you know.
Oh gosh, I am so excited for Hush.
If they bring him
Tommy
in
Elliott.
as, yes, Tommy Elliott, Bruce's childhood friend, if they have him in the school, they could have brought him in last episode, in my opinion. But they needed Alfred to be the one to kind of stick up with Bruce instead of Tommy. Um, but yeah, having Harvey Dent as a
Har-
childhood friend.
Hard,
Do it.
hardly Dent.
Hardly Dent. Um, Having him as a childhood friend would have been interesting, but it might not have worked with the show. I don't know if you've seen the promo for next week, have you?
I have not.
Okay, basically we're going to see two assassins hired to take out Bruce and Selena, and
Oh
they'll have
wow.
to run from these assassins. And, you know, in the promo we see Gordon getting mad at Dent because Dent promised that he would keep the assassins off of Bruce, and everything escalating. We also see quick shots of gunfire and Fish Mooney being very anxious and confronting Falcone, and lots of stuff happening. It's the fall finale next week, if in
Have we
case
heard
you didn't
anything
know.
about the assassins in general?
We literally saw two assassins. Have not heard who they might be. It would be very interesting if I think I know where you're going with this. Um,
Because I mean, I can think of two. I can think of two. They're both. They're both. Their names start with D. I mean, they're both pretty good.
he is
DC's
talking
pretty
about
cool.
Deadshot and Deathstroke, but the only reason I kind of push back a little on that is I
Because
think,
they're an arrow.
well, they are an arrow, and that Gordon will probably eventually defeat them in the end, and I don't think that he could take down those two villains.
I
It would
feel
be
like
interesting.
I don't know. But I mean, if it's like younger versions of them, I think at least Deadshot would be okay.
A young,
Or
like,
maybe, or like at least one of them
a
would be
young
okay.
rising Deadshot would be
Exactly.
a very interesting choice.
He might not be the best shot in the world,
Yet.
as he can barely shoot something in front of him, not bouncing it off of 20 different things like he's been known to do. Yeah, we'll
But
just have to wait and see, I guess.
yes, but going back to Harvey, I thought it was, I really liked the scene, and this is also what I liked about him, having the two-sided, or the two single head coin that we, um, to work with that kid. That was very botched, but yeah, we see him make a bet with a kid that if he gets heads, then he can go free. But he makes him promise to kind of turn around, and I think that's really interesting because we see him as a, good guy. We see the coin, making a nod to Two Face. Um, we see his bipolar tendencies, and is pointing to a lot of good things in store for this character.
Yeah. Um, quick aside, just in general about Gotham. Can they just like? Okay, this might be a little bit more than a quick aside. I said, I think I might have said in the last episode that they just come right out and say things. Like they did, like with all the Easter eggs and stuff, they just
Hmm.
blatantly say things. I wish that there was like a little more creative writing in the depths of the script. Not, I'm saying it's not creative or anything.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like they
I
just need
do.
to. I feel like it's the weakest of the DC shows that's not Constantine.
Yeah, it's not making a whole lot of references. The writing team doesn't seem to be as on board as the rest of
The
them.
thing, the thing is the well, I mean, it's not the references. It's just the fact that their references are like, oh yeah, like it's Venom.
Exactly.
I'd want a little bit less than that because it feels like they're treating it like we're stupid
Very true.
almost.
They,
Like we're like
they're
it's like, oh yes, remember this is Batman.
I can see that they're making this on Fox. We don't have like the CW. We've already established that with Smallville, Green and Arrow, and Flash. We have a lot of DC fans that are obviously tuning in here. But with Gotham, we have a lot of people who aren't even comic book fans. They just heard this is a good show because it's true. It's a good show. With like we said last week, it's kind of a Sopranos DC show. You don't have a like very nerdy viewership here, and so they do gotta make it a
They
little
do
more
gotta make
obvious. They do need to make it a little more obvious for those non comic book fans. But
But then again, everyone knows Batman.
exactly, and
Everyone knows Batman. Everyone knows Penguin. Everyone knows Riddler.
Two Face,
Two Face.
a lot of people have seen the Nolan trilogy, and so when you bring in a villain that was in the Nolan trilogy, I don't think you have to make these references as blatant. And you're right, they could have made it a little bit more subtle.
It's my least favorite of the DC TV shows I'm watching. Let me put it that way.
It's not my. To me, I look forward to all three of them each week. I've started looking forward to um, Flash and Gotham a little bit more than Arrow.
Flash is just it's getting better and better every week.
It is. I think we'll both have a lot to say about this last episode.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Um, the only other thing I have to personally say about Gotham is I really enjoyed bringing Selena back into this in a big way. I think it was great to kind of see um, the young Bruce and Selena really forming a friendship and a little bit more, um, and having Alfred see Bruce is, he is a kid and he kind of needs this in his life. It brought everything back to earth a little.
Right. Like friendships do exist, stuff like that.
It was a very
Um,
heartwarming scene, and it took a very, very, very dark show and gave it a little bit more life.
I feel like that's something that's being uh, also kind of missed. Is like there's no like with Arrow and Flash. There's always that moment where like everything's good and like everyone's happy and like everyone's goofing around and stuff. But I haven't really felt like it kind of like makes all the characters more relatable and more
Hmm.
real to me.
Yeah,
And I just feel like if Gotham could do that more, like that scene, then they'd be set pretty well too. Because right now it's just kind of like I don't really relate or like anybody. Like, oh, I mean, I like everybody, but you know what I'm trying to say, right?
I do, and I like Gordon. I think I just got a little bit more ammunition for my Barbara hate train, as the last scene of the episode featured her cheating on Jim with um what's her name? I'm forgetting her name.
The detective,
Yeah,
Dave Montoya,
yes, Montoya, the Major Crimes Unit detective.
the eventual question,
Yes, very interesting.
something I forgot about until recently.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that too. You
Because
brought
for
it
the
up, and I
most
was like,
part,
huh.
she was just a detective in Gotham.
She was,
But
yeah.
she just later became that when the original question. I think he died
The
at this
question,
age.
that is the question.
Did he die?
Uh,
Question's a great character.
he
We
is.
really need that episode about the Justice League, like the whole DC animated universe,
We do.
so we can talk about Question.
You'll be seeing that in the future. One thing that I'm going to just say right here, this is going back to Constantine a little, but with Constantine, they were always kind of saying, oh, this is a mystery. Like, just don't think about it. And it was a little bit annoying. The question kind of does that, but it's in a very intelligent way. He always, it was more like,
Or she.
He or she was was more like, what is the correct question, and I can give you the correct answer.
He's a conspiracy theorist who happens to be a vigilante slash superhero. So
It's very interesting. Um,
I like the question.
yes, but I don't really have anything more about Gotham unless you do.
No, I'm set.
So that being said, we will move on to the Flash.
No, this the name of this past Flash episode was The Flash is Born.
Yes, I was very excited when I saw that.
Because I'm okay. I'm just gonna say this. I like when the character is called by the character they're called in the comics.
Yes.
Like when they were calling like Arrow the Hood. Like I like just him being called Arrow or the Arrow. I would be like I feel like it fits more within that universe and whatever. Than to call him that.
When it comes to Arrow, I liked how they meant to have a progression from you had him called the Hood, and then the Arrow, and they're saying that eventually he'll be called the Green Arrow.
What I'm thinking with that is that there's gonna like eventually be so many archers
Yeah.
that they're gonna have to distinguish. He's the green one. He's the Green Arrow.
We will talk about the next archer that they've added. My gosh, wow, so many archers.
See, they're just gonna have to do that.
They will. We'll talk about that in Arrow, but with Flash, I guess we'll start out with a synopsis because so much happened in this episode.
Yeah, we see the villain Girder.
We
which
do.
Is a Jeff Johns creation when he did when he was the writer for the Flash.
Yeah. Starting off with Girder, he is, in the TV show at least, Barry's childhood nemesis, his bully in high school, which I didn't really like at first. I was like, ugh, they're rehashing this old story. Like, typical nerd gets bullied.
Yeah, I also kind of like how it ties in to like the very first episode.
It does.
When you see him being bullied. I kind of like that aspect of it, but then again, like the whole bully versus bullied thing is kind of it might be a little overdone, maybe at this point.
It is a little overdone, but they did well with it in this episode, and that's all I could ask from them. I did like how Cisco and Caitlin also had their bullies, and we got a few jokes in there from that, which I actually laughed at some of them. And then in one of the final scenes, not the final scene, but in one of the final scenes, we see him being able to finally confront the bully without his mask, which I thought was a horrible decision. But it was very, a great moment for Barry to be able to do that.
Yeah, I connect to Barry Allen, like with Barry Allen on an emotional and spiritual level. I relate to him more than I think I've ever related to any character on a.
He's your spirit animal.
Barry Allen is my spirit animal.
Oh man. Yeah, I personally like the CGI they had for Girder. The actor
It looked really good for being not really low budget. I wouldn't really call it low budget.
It's probably a high budget film or TV show.
High budget for CW.
Yes, very accurate.
Yeah. Because I mean, DC is where their money is made right now.
It is. We also had a lot of tongue-in-cheek references in this
like
episode.
The Man of Steel.
We had the Man of Steel.
I like that one. I just insulted Gotham on being too forward with their references, but I liked that one.
Yeah, it was good. And then at Keystone, we see Jay Garrick's name being name dropped.
Yes.
So that's very, it's I like it. We have the first speedster, the first Flash, Jay Garrick, being referenced here. It's a nice nod to the comics. Then we have.
Eventually get to see Jay Garrick.
That would be great. I would love it if we saw Jay Garrick, we saw Wally West. I want to see everyone.
I don't want to. I'd rather see Jay Garrick before I see Wally West.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because Wally West can't really come in until Iris is in the picture with Barry.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like they can't, like they can just bring him in and be like, oh look, it's Wally West.
Yeah.
Bring in like Jaden Smith to be him or whatever.
No.
He wouldn't do CW anyway.
No. We also have the Sonic Boom.
Which is really cool.
Just talking about that scene is amazing. That scene was done really well. We were talking about the budget. The CGI doesn't look amazing at every point in this show.
It was better than something I could do.
But that moment where we go into slow motion and Barry is literally flying towards Girder is one of my favorite moments in the show so far, visually.
That was pretty great.
It was great. It was just epic. You wanted to get up and shout and scream and cheer for Barry because
Presley did. I could hear him all the way from here.
All the way, cities away, he could hear me scream inside of my dining hall. We also have a lot of Rogues references, even in the Arrow.
Oh my gosh.
We'll talk about that later, though. But
oh my gosh.
so
man,
far,
I need to say it.
We have at the end of the episode in Flash, we have Iris mention a man that is on fire except he doesn't burn up. A lot of people think this is to introduce Heatwave. And that's what I thought too. I then look into it, and a lot of people are also thinking that this could be Firestorm. We could be seeing Firestorm much earlier than we thought.
Oh man.
What are your thoughts on this?
Oh man, I don't know. I want to see both of them. Personally, I think it is Heatwave.
Personally, I think it's Heatwave. I think they're trying to make the Rogues sooner than later.
I really think that they need to keep working at Caitlin's relationship with, and like, well, everybody's relationship with Ronnie before he quote unquote died.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I just think that it will be him. Well, it will be Heatwave and should be Heatwave, because I feel like they shouldn't bring in Firestorm yet, because I feel like in the coming seasons he'll become he can be the Flash's version of Black Canary.
That would be cool.
Canary as an arrow.
That would be cool. I'm personally, my favorite build-up is towards Killer Frost, because that will be very emotional. It'll be one of his allies turned enemies, and I don't think we've had that in Arrow yet. No, we haven't. We really need that, like, season 3. We do.
I can see how this would work out.
Yes.
The sub CW. I have faith that they won't.
They have not messed up Arrow that much, really.
I like how you say that much.
That much.
They haven't messed it up that much.
No, they've done very well with Arrow. Speaking of villains and who can this be, we currently have the Dr. Wells and Thawne.
Oh my gosh.
Man, I mean, there are accusations everywhere. We're talking about people think Wells is Professor Zoom. We think
I think he is.
We think he might be Savage. People think he might be Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. You're throwing out names that I don't recognize.
Abracadabra was a villain who can kind of like imitate magic, but he's really using futuristic technology. And at one time he impersonates Professor Zoom. So that's why a lot of people are talking about him. Vandal Savage is my current theory that I am siding with.
Really cool.
Because we have a little bit of a too good sob story with his wife who's in a car accident, and that's why he moved here and started on the particle accelerator. I'm not buying it. I think that was a farce for him being immortal and knowing about the future, because he lives that long, and that is his future self talking to himself about, and he can't Vandal like regenerate, so he might have been paralyzed, but then now he's not, and so but he wants to still be seen as paralyzed, so he's in the wheelchair.
I haven't heard that. That'd be fantastic.
So we have a lot of stuff going towards
Man,
him being Vandal Savage. Vandal Savage is very intelligent. Um, he's a strategist. Um,
that'd be
and
so cool, man. I can't get over that now.
and then we can still have Eddie be Professor Zoom.
I, I until you said that. Sorry, I thought that he would have been Professor Zoom, but now that you say that, like all the clues point to that.
It depends on how smart Flash wants to be with this.
That oh man, Vandal Savage would be awesome.
I would love that. Personally, one of my favorite villains, one that I kind of forgotten about until I heard about this theory.
Justice League Doom?
Hmm.
Do you not just like Justice League Doom?
No, I like it.
But you I don't know. I watched it this past week actually.
Oh,
Which is
okay.
weird.
See, like, just because you watched it doesn't. I haven't.
No, but I mean, just in general, that's probably my favorite DC animated film.
True. I just haven't seen it recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah. So we have lots of theories going on there. I think that's one of my favorite mysteries in Flash right now. Because it's not really. Oh, we also have a Reverse Flash scene where he intimidates Detective West.
Yes.
I was actually freaked out. I did not expect them to use red-eyed zoom. Um, it was.
It was a good choice.
It was.
It was creepy.
A lot of people are saying that whoever Reverse Flash is, he went by a dollar store, grabbed some vampire teeth just to freak him out. And that's why his teeth were like that.
I've always thought that Professor Zoom was always like just off. There was just something not right about him, and like this can be it.
Yeah, I personally think it's great how they introduce him finally, like, because they didn't really have him introduced yet.
No, but we'd seen set pictures of him.
We have.
That's been about it.
We won't see him, or we assume that we won't see him until episode 9 in The Man in the Yellow Suit.
I mean, how much? unless there's like someone else in the yellow suit, you're pretty sure that it's gonna be him.
Yeah, that's always the title of the set pictures. So, that's
also
oh, go ahead.
Pertaining to rogues, we've just found leaked photos of what is reportedly the Grodd costume for
Yes.
the Flash, or what the Grodd animatronic, whatever you want to call it. The Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic.
Yes, we got leaks at just leaked pictures of that, and personally, I know I am, and I think Alex is too. We're pretty excited that they're going to not use CGI for Grodd.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If this is true.
I hope. Well, I feel like they'll have to use a little bit of CGI no matter what.
Yes.
But I think that that'll work well. Like, I don't think that he needs to be like that physical villain, so they don't need to animate it that much.
True.
But he needs to be like he's more of a mental thing. Like he has intelligence surpassed of humans and stuff, even though he's a gorilla. I'm just so excited to see Grodd.
I am too. I don't know when they'll introduce him, but they've been building him up for quite some time.
Since the very first episode, with that little cage that had Grodd written on it.
Yeah. That was great, but I really don't have anything more to say about Flash.
Can we talk about Grodd? Oh man. I'll just be so cool.
I'm excited. I'm excited for to see a more interesting, just like crazy villain that has a different aspect. Every one of the villains so far has kind of been a physical villain, and now we're going to get one that is coming at Barry with mental power.
He's almost Bane, really, because he's got that mental power, but he's also a force to be reckoned with when it comes to physical prowess.
He's a gorilla, so
it's to be expected.
Yeah.
Man, also from the DC animated universe, which will be in an episode eventually, we promise.
Yes,
Man, we need this episode.
we do. Um, it'll be
um,
referenced forever.
yes, it will. We will never come through on it, but we'll just keep saying it and saying it and saying it. I'm just kidding. No, we'll have one eventually.
On to possibly my favorite of this week, unexpectedly, is Arrow. Last week we ended with a shot of Cupid, a newer villain of the Flash, and a very interesting choice for the CW to start bringing in. At first, you kind of think, man, they're starting to scratch the bottom of the barrel here, but in this episode, we see that it was a very good choice and a bit of a change-up.
They're scraping that barrel, is what they were doing.
Yeah.
Arrow doesn't have his own ginormous rogues gallery, so they're having to make do. And well, unlike the Flash and unlike Batman, unlike stuff like that, so they're making do, and they're doing a great job. They're doing a great job.
They are.
This one in particular is a Green Arrow villain, who's almost like a Harley Quinn.
Yeah, we get the little reference. This one will be crazier than the last girl they had, talking about Harley, because Cupid is eventually sent back to the Suicide Squad.
I still want Harley to show up.
I think that was them saying that it won't happen, which is kind of depressing, but
Like, why not? Gotham shouldn't use her.
but they
The way that
will.
Gotham is
They
the way that
will.
Gotham is setting up. No, they shouldn't.
Oh, they shouldn't. No, but they will. You know they will.
But the thing is, Gotham's setting up everything that like everyone will be really old by the time Bruce is actually Batman.
We have what, like, I don't know, 20, 10, 20 years before he becomes Batman, and we're introducing 20 to 30-year-olds. They're going to be like 50 by the time he's Batman.
Exactly. Like, I mean, like they keep like teasing Joker every so often, and he's like a 20-year-old comedian, like in the first episode or whatever. Like they hinted at or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I like really.
Have you heard the Penguin Joker theory?
No, what is it?
That Penguin is eventually going to be Joker.
What?
Yeah.
That's weird.
I know, it's a very out there theory, but they're saying that Penguin will inspire someone else to be Penguin, and that this Penguin will become Joker.
I don't know if I like that.
It's not going to happen, but
Yeah,
it's an interesting theory.
I don't know. I don't know if I like that because I like this Penguin, and this is the first live-action Penguin I've liked. So
First one you've liked, interesting.
besides Burgess Meredith in the '60s series.
Oh, that was fun.
But I mean, first one I've liked, like comparing him to Danny DeVito is basically what I'm doing.
Yeah, he was just creepy.
It was just weird.
Yeah.
Batman Returns is weird.
It is. But yeah, so we have Cupid, who really just is crazy, and they tried to do crazy with Vertigo, and I just didn't really catch on with it. But this time, it was the actress that they hired just was incredible, in my opinion.
She did great.
She did. I would look forward to seeing her again.
Because she's crazy and
She
just kind
is.
of like a little bit endearing, just like Harley Quinn. Hint, hint. Greg Berlanti, if you're listening, please. Please.
As we were saying before, there are so many archers. We have,
Because you got Green Arrow, or the Arrow, sorry.
Then Dark Archer.
Then we have Arsenal, Roy Harper.
We started calling him Arsenal, and that makes me so happy.
It's so cooler than Red Arrow.
It is. And then we have Cupid.
Now we have Cupid.
Komodo.
We have, Komodo.
Thea.
Yeah. Theo will probably become a bigger deal being an archer later on.
Exactly. If she becomes speedy, maybe.
That'd be pretty cool.
And then we have one more. I know we do.
Oh, Nissa.
Yes, Nissa. So many archers. A lot of them use black
time.
arrows. Cupid uses heart arrows. So the fact that they might start having to call him Green Arrow is very real.
So many archers, so little time.
Yeah, not only is she crazy, but like we have a backstory, we have a callback to season 2 finale. Like we get to see, wow, she is in so many scenes throughout the show,
Hmm.
and we didn't notice. And that's the kind of thing I like. It's something that the fans didn't notice, and they bring in all of a sudden. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I agree 100%. That's like it's something that you thought you knew. Like it's a story or event that you thought you knew, but you apparently didn't know the entire story,
Hmm.
and that's always really cool. Like I, yeah,
And just the actress alone, like we see not like a crazy as in Harley or Joker, a different kind of crazy, an obsessive, just disturbing character, and it brings a lot of just uh,
she goes
new.
from like loving to like borderline insanity.
Like when she handcuffs him to the rail, and then
Hmm.
he's like, "We'll just both be crushed by this train," and she's okay with it. That scene, in my opinion, was done really well. And then just Arrow being able to break his hand in like a second flat.
Yeah,
That was incredible. I wonder if that'll have repercussions.
I mean, I'm sure. What her like in?
No, him breaking his hand.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll definitely have repercussions. Well, maybe we'll have that down episode that we were talking
Oh,
about.
that's true. He might not be able to, because that's his bow holding hand.
Right. That's an important hand.
It
Because
is,
without that, you're not as accurate. Well, you need both hands,
and
except
he.
for him in the Dark Knight Returns, where he uses his teeth.
Oh, that was cool.
Plug to Dark Knight Returns. Go
Yeah,
read it slash watch it slash
that
love
was
it.
cool. Um, we have a lot of other very, very interesting parts of the episode that not all of them were just references. But to talk about the references first, we do have Arsenal, as we've already talked about, and then one of my favorites is Katana.
I knew it.
Oh my gosh, I was blown away. Did not see this coming at all.
That she was gonna be Katana.
Yeah, I didn't pay
You didn't
attention to
know
what her
that?
name. I didn't pay attention to what her name was.
No, but like they'd all like. Well, then again, I also work for a news site.
That's
Um,
true.
Plug into DCComicsNews.com for all your DC
Yeah,
Comics
you're
news resources.
yeah, you're always going to
Uh,
have a little bit of a leg up on future knowledge of these
but
things.
like when they cast her, I was like the first thing was oh they cast Katana, and then the second thing
Uh,
was oh she's from the Wolverine.
oh man. Yeah, but we see Katana, who her scene was incredibly BA. It was um just awesome. I honestly thought that her husband was dead.
I did too.
Yeah, I really did. I thought they were going to try to pull some. At first, I was like, "Oh, they're starting to get a little buddy buddy. This is going to cause some, drama." And then it was like, "Oh, he's dead. So maybe he'll bond with her and like he'll adopt this kid." But
He's
then
gonna he's gonna die eventually though.
I think he will. I do.
Yeah, I like him. I'm starting to like that character
I'm
because he's
starting
like
to
a
like.
family man and
I'm
he
starting to like
brings.
this backstory.
Yeah, me too. I like this better than the island backstory
Really,
personally.
I
Yeah,
like that. I
just kidding. I like that stuff more.
okay. I see. I loved the island. It is one of my favorites.
I like the island. I didn't like when they got on that boat and stuff. That was weird.
It was weird, but it was intense, and so
Mm,
you wanted to keep going back to it.
yeah.
But yeah, so we have Katana and her s- Soul
Oh
Taker
man,
sword.
I just thought of something. Imagine like we can actually have a real Birds of Prey thing now.
We can. That's
Because
it's true.
Laurel's gonna become Black Canary, as was the thumbnail on our last video. We got Huntress. She's still out there.
True.
We haven't seen her this year, which is
That's weird. Where did they put her last?
I don't remember.
Me either. She keeps coming in, and then it's like
I like her. I like her a lot.
she didn't die, did she?
No, they couldn't have killed her off.
I thought they
Like they
did.
might have done something where like she was like, oh maybe she's dead, but she's probably alive.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
and then we got Katana, who are three of the members of the Birds of Prey.
Yes,
Uh,
and her sword. If you did, you hear it in the scene where it made that whistling noise? The
yes.
Soul Taker sword. Very awesome. Um. And then we also have the Sherwood Florist, where
Yes.
Oliver Queen and Dinah Lance lived in the comics. Um.
Yep.
Then
Also a reference to Robin Hood.
yes, I, I like that a lot. That's what I initially thought of, and then I thought about it longer. Like, where have I heard that? And I was like, oh yeah. Um, if you didn't notice, Ray's speech is a little bit of a spin on the monologue from the show's opening.
Yeah, I did notice that.
It
Also,
was,
did you notice, tossed back to Flash, Iris's little speech was the same one that was in the pilot.
oh, that's true. Yeah,
Um,
they
yeah.
they like doing that apparently.
Yeah.
Um, Palmer Technologies logo had an atom in it.
I am liking Ray Palmer more and more
Me
as the
too.
episodes go on.
That
Originally didn't like him. I'm like, oh, he's kind of smarmy and kind of a jerk. But now, like, I mean, this is he's starting to be Ray Palmer that I'd want to see.
exactly. That's
Like,
what.
he's a really a good person.
Like, I don't love the Ray Palmer character in the comics as much as some others, but for Ray Palmer, this character in the show is very true
Good
to
job,
who he
Superman.
needs to be. Um,
Superman does a good Ray Palmer.
man,
In case you did not get the reference, Brandon Routh plays Ray Palmer on Arrow. He also played Superman in the 2006 catastrophe Superman Returns.
yes.
It was not a catastrophe film, it was a catastrophe in general.
He finally found his way to be another superhero.
I'm glad. He's a good actor. He's a
I-
really good actor.
I'm gonna be a little bit in the minority here and say that I kind of like Superman Returns at some points.
Really? I like Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor.
See, before, yeah, me too. Before, um, we had Man of Steel, it was like the newest Superman,
Yeah.
and so we got
Since
some
the
newer
since, like, the
CGI.
80s.
Yeah, since like the 80s, so we had like some newer CGI. We had the plane scene. It just looked nice. I don't know.
Yeah. He
Which-
also knew how to use his frost breath, which is something that Henry Cavill has not yet found yet.
Very true.
Which is, I think, is something they need to bring up in the following films, which I think they will.
That would be fun.
That he'll like start discovering more powers and stuff, and he'll be like I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I like that they Felicity's face when she kind of has this little flashback moment of Arrow, using the salmon ladder when she sees Ray using it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
I'm starting to actually ship them.
Really?
Yeah, I am. Like originally I was like, oh yeah, she doesn't like him, and I kind of don't like him. Now I'm coming around on him.
I still don't think it feels natural.
I don't know. I there's well, okay. Here's my thing. Oliver being all emo about not being able to be with Felicity after saying we can never be together and stuff is just kind of a little. It's a little too much for me.
Yeah.
Like he's just kind of. Well, I guess that comes with being raised as a rich kid, I guess, and not having your parents die at a young age.
Very true. I think the last.
Batman.
Yeah, I think the last big reference we had was the Atom exosuit.
Yes. Yes.
In the comics, the Dwarf Star alloy that's mentioned to make the Atom exosuit is the metal that Ray Palmer uses to make his what does he call it? His belt. It's a belt that causes him to grow and shrink, kind of like Ant-Man.
Better than Ant-Man.
Better than Ant-Man because we're DC.
No, that's not the reason why, but okay.
I don't have a preference.
In case you forgot.
In case you forgot, that's all we ever talk about.
Should we ever talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
What is that?
It's the show that's on ABC. since ABC can't have any DC shows.
Very true. Because ABC is owned by Disney.
Fun fact, did you know that the Batman 66 series originally aired on ABC?
Fun fact.
So
There
it's
you
it's a little weird. It's a very fun fact. It's so fun that nah, I got nothing. I was going somewhere with that for a second.
You were, and you tried hard, and we'll give you that.
I'm gonna try hard.
Yeah. I like it. In the New 52, we have more of a suit for the Atom, and that's kind of what they're going for. It does look a little Iron Man-ish, but...
Have you caught up to the Batman Superman where they introduce Ray Palmer again?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
It's really good. It's a one-shot, I think, within the series. I think Jeff Lemire wrote it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Really good. It's like issue 10, maybe.
Interesting.
The art's completely different. You'd know it when you saw it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I personally don't know where they're going to quite go with this. If the Atom exosuit is just going to be a nod to, hey, Ray Palmer is the Atom, and he tries to sell it to the military, or if he's going to try to use it himself.
Oh, he's going to try to use it. He's going to use it eventually.
Yeah, it's the CW. That's what's going to happen.
I get the feeling that he's going to go over to the Flash, and then he's going to use it.
Maybe.
With the Flash, we have more of that's an okay thing.
Well, I think because they made the Flash, they've now established that it's okay in Arrow to do that type of thing.
Yeah, I know, but it also feels like Flash is the one that's focusing on the superpowers and stuff, which it really is.
Yeah, but this is not a superpower. It's
close to one.
It is.
It's not being a vigilante, really.
Exactly.
Like Arrow. It's
See,
not real world grounded.
See, I think he's going to put it on himself and then have a privatized army try to clean up the streets and kind of go head to head with Arrow. Is my opinion.
Go head to head with Arrow.
Kind of like to be a good version of the Mirakuru army. He might kind of have a Atom exosuit army.
So we're gonna have 2016. We're gonna have Batman v Superman. We're gonna have Cap versus Iron Man, and then Arrow versus Atom.
And then Flash versus Arrow this year.
Oh yeah, that's not they haven't really said it's Flash versus Arrow.
No, you didn't see the promo?
No.
It's Flash fighting Arrow.
Is it?
Yeah.
Who did you take in this fight, Presley?
Arrow.
Boo.
Because in
the
the promo we see Flash kind of throwing some quick punches, but Arrow has the reflexes to catch one of the punches with his hand. And to me, that really
He's not
defines.
Superman. Only Superman can do that.
That really defines
Dang it, CW.
normal guy beating superhero guy.
They're making Arrow into being just everyone in the Justice League.
You know
Besides the
Arrow
Flash.
is practically Batman.
Ah,
He has his villains.
he's stealing everything from Batman.
He is. He's stealing his quick reflexes.
Sooner or later, they're gonna have Nightwing in it.
Yeah,
That'll be so cool.
he'll just stop adopting children and putting them into Robin costumes.
Oh gosh. Speedy costumes. You forget.
But I think the last big reference talking point tonight is the one that you all might be waiting for or not even know about, but it is Captain Boomerang.
Yes. Yeah, earlier you mentioned it,
I did.
and I was I want to talk about it now, and you just kind of shot me down.
I really wanted to build this up in the podcast because I was blown away. I was like, who's this dude? And they pulls out his boomerang, and I'm like, what? They're doing that in this show? Wrong show, CW.
He pulls out his boomerang.
And that was awesome scene.
But isn't he going to be in the Flash versus Arrow?
He is. He's being introduced in that episode, so it does make sense.
That makes sense.
Because the next Arrow episode is the Flash versus Arrow episode.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
So I think the villain for that episode, there's two, right? Boomerang and...
yeah. I can't remember the other one right now, though.
Huh.
We'll think about it.
We will. But yes, we have him pull out his, sharpened boomerang, and he throws it behind the guy, and it comes back to stab him in the back. And just a really nice introduction for this very interesting character. I don't like that he's not this wacky Australian guy.
You know, if it doesn't have his flight attendant outfit.
I think in the crossover episode, he might just change into it.
Just change. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me change into you'll see. And it comes out with a old 40s.
Oh my gosh.
Airline flight attendant outfit.
It's so hilarious. They didn't even try to like do the whole Captain Cold like, oh, we're gonna park it, but it won't be bright blue.
I liked Captain Cold. I thought that was good.
It was good, like darker representation. I wish they could have done that with Captain Boomerang, but what's done is done.
I mean, I think they're trying not to make it cheesy.
They are. If they brought him out in anything close to what he has in the comics, people wouldn't get it. They would think CW is being weird, and they wouldn't like it.
Yeah, probably not. Like, because I know a lot of people who watch Flash and Arrow who aren't even comic book people. Like,
yeah.
They just like the shows.
They're good shows. They should like them.
Yeah. Everyone should like them. What are you doing if you're not?
But yeah, that was really my last thing about the shows.
Yeah, I think so. I covered everything that I thought should be covered. I think you did too.
Yep. So we will see you all next time.
So follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest. Like us on Facebook. Go subscribe to Storyline.